So in this video, I'm going to be talking to you about, this is the episode 2, by the way, of the banking series of how to finance an acquisition through a bank and how to create wealth using banks. That's what we are talking about. This is episode 2. If you haven't watched the episode 1, I highly recommend watching the episode 1 and then coming back to episode 2. And if you're new to this channel, hit that subscribe button and let's get started. So in this video, I want to talk to you about the legal structuring of $1 million acquisition financing. What do I mean by that? What I mean is, who is the borrower? We as individuals are recognized by a state or a country as an individual. And you could do, in most countries, you could do business in your name, or you could form a company. And then you can do a business in the name of that company. And the laws, the implications of laws changes from individual to a company, and various companies have different kinds of laws which are favorable for various reasons. So based on your activity, based on the type of financing that you want to get, and based on your intention and outcome that you want, you will decide on what type of company you would form. And typically this is a lawyer that has to advise you on this. And this video is not a substitute to having a lawyer. You need a lawyer. But this video is for you to understand the principles, and then you have to consult the lawyer in your city, in your country, and they will give you a version of this structure and they will tell you how to do it in your city. But this video is not, I'm not a lawyer, you need to consult a lawyer. I'm only going to be sharing you some principles of how to structure the deal. And again, it's for educational purposes, and this is something that is coming from a discussion that I had with a lawyer that structured a $13 billion bank merger. So he's a very senior lawyer. And I was having a conversation with him, and he asked me, we were looking to raise some money, and he asked me, Prithvi, who is the borrower? And I said, what do you mean by that? And I said, I don't know. Are you the borrower, or is the company the borrower? I said, well, it's the company. Why would it be on my name? And he says, yes, that's what I thought. It should be the company that should be the borrower. And there has to be a distinction between you and the company. Your company is not you. Your company is your company. And the assets are in your personal assets, like your house, cars, all in your name. So there is a distinction here. And the financing exists in the company, at the level of the company. So typically when you're doing an acquisition or you're buying a business through bank's money, you will not take the loan in your name. And there are several layers of companies that you would create to diversify your risk or to protect yourself. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that. But fundamentally, and I did not know this, that's the reason I'm sharing this. A lot of you know this. I know that. Is that individual and company is different. The financing can exist in the name of the individual or a company. And if things don't work out, the company can go bankrupt or the individual can go bankrupt. And there are different implications in both these scenarios. If an individual goes bankrupt, that's a little bit more serious than a company goes bankrupt. And this is assuming there is a financial difficulty and not a financial fraud, which is a completely different thing, because I started to watch some big businessmen who got into trouble and then they went to jail, and I didn't understand. I thought that it's because they didn't pay off the debt. No, that's not the reason. It's not that they didn't pay off the debt because of financial difficulties. They went to jail because they lied before getting financing. They misrepresented the financial information to the bank. They lied, they fabricated information, and that is fraud. Okay? So don't do that. You've got to be upfront, honest, disclose everything to the bank. And a lot of the people who get into trouble with the banks, they lie and they cook the books, and that's a fraud. So that's not bankruptcy, that's a fraud. Bankruptcy is when you have financial difficulties and you can not make the payment. That's bankruptcy. And you have been honest, you obtained the money honestly, and it was in the name of the company. So to diversify the risk, you never borrow on personal name, you always borrow in the name of the company. I'll give you an example. There is a company called WeWork, and that company went into bankruptcy, the company itself. And after the company went bankrupt, the founder was still worth $400 million. Now think about that. The company has gone bankrupt and it cannot pay the debt, but the founder has $400 million worth of assets because he says, hey, the company went bankrupt, not me. I'm still rich. And that happens a lot of the times. Another example, Bill Gates is let's say he's a share. I don't know how much of Microsoft he owns right now, but one of the companies is Microsoft. He has another company. If one of them goes bankrupt, doesn't mean he has gone bankrupt. He's still one of the richest men in the world. And it is possible that, I don't know if this has happened, but if it happens or if it has happened that one of the companies he was an investor in or he was involved in went bankrupt, doesn't mean he's bankrupt, because his assets are diversified over many companies. And this is what the rich do. They form separate companies, even for little projects. If they want to buy 10 houses, they will not put all those 10 houses in one company. They will form 10 different companies to buy 10 houses, and each of those companies will have separate financing from the bank, separate loan. And the loan sits on the company's books, not their personal books. There could be houses in their name which will not be affected. So it's a legal maze, so to speak. You're creating a maze, and all of this is legal, and you have to make it legal. Obviously, you have to consult a lawyer to do this. It's a complex structure. Several law firms, I've met over 40 law firms. They have billion-dollar revenues, and they explained to me the structure. Also, I have an in-house lawyer who is a high-profile lawyer, and he explained to me how this thing works. So they will have a holding company at the top, and then they will have separate companies for each acquisition that they do. And all of this is connected with the holding company. And the holding company is just there to hold the shares, hold the ownership. That's it. You don't own the ownership. You own the ownership in the holding company, and the holding company owns everything. And this is all done. It's a complex legal structure. I hope you can follow what I'm saying. But it's a complex legal structure to avoid risk, to avoid financial risk. I'll give you a scenario. Let's say you bought 10 houses, okay? And those 10 houses are in the name of one company, just one company, and it has bought 10 houses. Well, if one of them is struggling and is not able to pay the debt, the bank can actually use other companies to pay off that debt. And your whole portfolio is affected because you've cross-collateralized. Now the 10 houses are all mixed up with each other. And if one is bad, and sometimes it happens, then everything is a mess. Everything can be leveraged to pay off that, to cover up that one, to cover up the mess of the one. So what the super big mammoth companies, what they do is, they don't buy 10 houses with one company, they buy each house with separate company. And each of them will have separate financing. And now you have protection. If one of them, let's say house number 10 goes bad and cannot pay the loan, the tenant disappeared, whatever happened, and you can't find a tenant, the location is not good, whatever the reason is, you could just list that company into bankruptcy, but you still got 9 more. And they are untouched. Assuming there was no personal guarantee. Because the company is the borrower. And it's in the name of the company. But if you sign a personal guarantee, then your personal assets are also on the line, which is something that a lot of the people don't recommend, but sometimes the entrepreneur believes in the project and he signs his name as a personal guarantee. And then all the assets that you have all around the world is under, the banks can use to get their money back. Or you could be as smart as this guy from WeWork. I don't know the entire details, but all I know is WeWork went bankrupt and he's still rich. So he did a lot of legal protection, and that's what the big lawyers can do. So this is to understand the legal structuring, and there are ways to protect yourself in a bad scenario, and that's why you need a lawyer. You need a financial advisor who have done this many times. And I got exposed to this, that there are people, the super rich, who do business and they protect themselves from risk properly. And there are scenarios where there is little or no personal risk to yourself in a financing, because you have identified them and addressed them and protected yourself. Not 100%, but there is a significant amount of protection that you can get that I did not know that you could get. So I was exposed to only personal loans, when you buy a car or a house, and all kinds of scenarios can happen there through a bank. But I did not have the exposure of this complexity of legal structuring around financing, which is extremely sophisticated, and it can completely diversify your risk and protect you from a lot of trouble. So I thought that before we get into how to structure the financing and the deal itself or any scenario, I create this sort of concept for you that this is available in the market for you to structure this and for you to act, and you structure things in a sophisticated manner that protects your risk. And the lawyers help you do it. That's the reason I was advised you get the top lawyers, top accounting firms, top financial firms, and they have done this many, 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 many times. And it's not that the rich are always the smartest, but they have the smartest advisors, and they help them structure this. Now, of course, the bank, if the deal is not good enough, can get you to sign a personal guarantee, and then, you're on the hook. But there are ways to separate that and to do business in a smart manner. So I want to talk, this is the video I wanted to talk to you about legal structuring. And I wanted to create a distinction between personal loan and a company loan, and also that you can form various holding companies and you can separate the financing to buy each company. And all of them is connected with one holding company, and there is a structure whereby the ultimate owner of the company is actually offshore. Where you form a company offshore, away from the jurisdiction, and that company owns the holding company. And that holding company owns another holding company, which is separate, and that holding company owns the clinic or real estate or any asset. So it's a very complex structure, all interconnected to offshore, onshore, and you're engaging multiple jurisdictions and you're creating a complexity. But it's all done to protect yourself from risk. All the implications of this, why it's done, what are the benefits, you could talk to a lawyer. Any good lawyer is going to tell you how to do this. A corporate lawyer, M&A lawyer, which is what I have, and they tell you how to do this, and the law firms tell you how to do this. So I just wanted to share with you that there are ways to get money from a bank, borrow money from a bank to do business, and to structure it in a sophisticated manner. And that's today's video. On the episode 2, wait for the episode 3. And by the way, I have opened up the Group Mentorship Program, which I will be conducting in the next couple of months. And I'm in the structuring period, but if you want to join the waiting list, if you want to sign up, if you want to inquire about it, the price point is slightly lower compared to the one-on-one, because one-on-one takes a lot of my personal time, one-on-one. But in group, you have, a group of people, and it's going to be an engaging session where many questions get addressed from many perspectives, and it's going to be a group session. It's going to be priced a little bit less than the one-on-one. It's going to take place over 6 to 12 months. I'm still yet to announce the date, But if you want to sign up for that, if you want to join the waiting list, click the link below, message me on Instagram, LinkedIn, email me, or message me on Facebook, whichever platform you're comfortable with, and let's have a conversation. I'll most likely give you a form to fill if you haven't filled it already, so that I understand your situation fully. And then from there, we can move into a Zoom call to dig further what you want to do, what your goals are, and how you want me to help, and if the group consultation is for you or not. And if you still want to do one-on-one, you could reach out to me for that also. The seats in the one-on-one are limited. The group I'm opening up right now. So if you're interested, reach out to me and we'll talk soon.